Good Thursday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock in time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Plenty to talk about. Combine has wrapped up. We will talk plenty about draft-eligible players. Take a look at some mock drafts. Names that are predominantly associated with the Browns is who we are going to look at a little later. Lance Reisland will be along with some film breakdown of defensive tackles, edge rushers, and wide receivers. But we begin with a post-combine mock draft. And it's kind of interesting. This one is from Draft Countdown, and they have the Browns taking a edge rusher, a little undersized, Will McDonald from Iowa State. Here is the scouting report on Will McDonald. Again, 6'4", 240. Little undersized, a guy that is kind of developing at Iowa State. You look a little deeper. Fast guy, pliable edge, talented, active hands, eager, to make those hard tackles, burst and lower body. The NFL comp is a pretty good one. Randy Gregory, so you're thinking you put this guy, a little undersized, but he's fast, that wide nine technique. You put him on the opposite side of Myles Garrett, and you got two really good athletes who like to get after it. NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah talked a little bit about why this might make sense. And take a listen then to Will McDonald, how he got started and found out he was a pretty good pass rusher in football.
Schwartzy likes to get outside and let those guys rock and roll and really get off the ball. So when you look at where the Browns are picking, second round, pick number 42, if you're looking for edge rushers that have, kind of big-time juice, oh, gosh, I know one of them off the top of my head is you go to Iowa State, and they have, a premier player in Will McDonald in terms of burst and athleticism. He's a little bit undersized, 241 pounds. We'll see what he weighs there, but he can really get off the ball. He can win with spin moves. He can win just turning the corner. But burst and bend is his calling card.
I mean, yeah, I was a big basketball dude. I was always into basketball. I didn't really care too much about football, but, coach, my coach back in high school, Matt Harris, he's coming after me, like every other, day to, ask me to come play football. I'm like, no, I'm good. And so, one day I went out, and he asked me if I can catch. I'm like, yeah, I can catch. I go out there and catch some balls. And then, he asked me, he said, all right, can you get down and try to get around this tackle? It was our first string tackle. I'm like, all right, bet. And so, we get down in the stands. I'm like, he said, get down in the stands. I'm like, how am I supposed to do that? And so I asked him if he could serve. He an old, 40, 50-year-old dude. And so I asked him if he could serve. He said, just put your hand down and just try to get around. So I'm like, all right. And so I get down, and I don't know what move I do. Maybe like a rep move, to get around the tackle. He was like, hold on, do that again. Because I end up winning the rep. And then the second time, he told me to just do whatever. So I tried to mix it up, but I ended up doing the same move. And I ended up winning it again. He was like, hold up, do that one more time. And so I ended up, beating him 3 times, and then that's when we figured out, I was a pass rusher. So I just kind of developed my game from there, tried to master it. I watched Max Crosby do his span, Von Miller do his span, but honestly, before them, I was already doing it. So, I just wanted to, kind of mix my game up. I wanted to have a lot of tools in my box. Whether it's, double swipe, cross chop, span, rip, I want to do all of that. And I want to use all of those for counters too, I always want to be relentless to the QB.
Again, that's Will McDonald. Has been tied to the Browns by some folks, thinks that McDonald would do well in Jim Schwartz wide 9 opposite Myles Garrett. Now, another guy who is tied to the Browns is Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Here's his scouting report. You see, still a little undersized, 255, 6'3", athletic guy from Kansas State, the edge rusher. You see the comp. Dante Fowler, you like that. Hard-charging edge prospect, Anudike-Uzomah, good strength, long frame, should continue to fill out. That means you can put some pounds on him. Run defense is unrefined, needs to be better fundamentals. Jim Schwartz can coach that out of him is probably the thought. Here is Daniel Jeremiah, ESPN's draft analyst, on Anudike-Uzomah.
I really like Felix Anudike-Uzomah from Kansas State. he's kind of right in that range for me too. He can get off the ball. He can win with his hands. He had to play a lot inside the tackle and kind of a 4-eye there on the inside shoulder of the tackle, so he didn't get as much runway consistently. But when you widened him out and gave him a runway, he was pretty dominant and had a lot of production. 8 career forced fumbles for him, 8 in the last 2 years. So those guys to me would be good fits.
And again, the thought being wide 9. You're lining guys up wide. You're almost putting them in starter blocks and telling them get around the tackle and get to the quarterback, create some chaos. All right, Lines.com did a mock draft post-combine as well. And they have the Browns taking Mazi Smith, big defensive tackle, big being the imperative word. Now, Mazi Smith did not work out at the combine, only did the bench press reps, did not meet with the media either. You see the size, 6'3", 323 pounds. He did do 33 reps of 225 on the bench. The comp there we like a lot. Donateri Poe. If you can get a Donateri Poe and Mazi Smith can be in that realm of things, you can correct that run defense pretty hurry. Blend of size, quickness is rare. Can punch and control a base block with relative ease. Struggles to match the initial movement of moving blockers, which kind of diminishes his effectiveness. That would be the reason that he would be there in the second round as opposed to being a first-round pick. Another guy that some folks think would be kind of a dream scenario for the Browns at that 42 spot, Calijah Kancey from Pitt. Again, tackle, undersized a little bit at 6'1", 281. He is kind of filling out a little bit. This is a guy that, ran through the combine, kind of opened up some eyes with his 40 and his quickness. You see the comp, John Randall, you take that as well. Undersized, one-gapping defensive tackle, explosive and productive, strong and determined player. Kancey's going to be hit-or-miss run defender due to his lack of mass and length, but he is a nightmare as a pass rusher. And keep in mind, pass rushing defensive tackles, kind of what Jim Schwartz wants. He wants to create chaos at the line of scrimmage and in the offensive backfield. Kancey talked about his game and what he wants to see from himself at the combine.
Javon Hargrave, Aaron Donald, Grady Jarrett, and Quentin Williams. I think those guys just paved the way for smaller defensive tackles, and they just showing people why smaller defensive tackles can play at the next level. A lot of quickness, a lot of speed, technique, a lot of good block shedding, and running aggressiveness.
What's the biggest difference in training as a college athlete versus training as a pro?
I think it's just it's more focused on just the little things, just staying consistent. And I think that's something like we're on a time frame, and you got to just stay consistent every day. And I think it's more of a drill thing and not football.
And you hear Calijah Kancey models his game after Javon Hargraves. That's a guy that Jim Schwartz had a lot of success coaching when he was the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. So Schwartz, not averse to undersized DTs. It'll be interesting to see. Some people have Kancey creeping up into that lower end of the first round, so he may not be available when the Browns pick at 42. Another guy that opened some eyes with his athleticism at the combine, Adetomiwa Adebawore from Northwestern. Again, undersized at 282, 6'2", but Adebawore was really, really athletic. He's kind of a positional tweener. He plays inside and has had effectiveness, and he's quick enough and athletic enough to play outside. In fact, the Ravens have talked to him about potentially moving outside as an outside linebacker. That's how athletic this guy is. So you get a guy that can play defensive tackle, can bounce outside and play edge. Probably a third to fourth round pick, could creep up into the bottom half of the second round. But Adebawore talked at the at the Combine, and take a listen to kind of his elevator pitch to teams why they should take him.
Very athletic, intelligent, great character, and a will to get better every day.
Jim Schwartz, Browns defensive coordinator. He's a guy that always seems to have some star defensive linemen. What would it be like to have a guy like that as your defensive coordinator as a rookie?
It's going to help you win games. You're going to get a guy who's going to care, who's going to work hard, who's going to be relentless.
What about you? Does that bring out the best in you? A guy that will push you, and a guy that knows some of the...
Absolutely. I want to look at who's the best, and that's the target. That's how I get myself better. So when I'm in there at 3 technique, my mindset is go. Go, be low, be explosive, and be violent with my hands. As a defensive end, there's times where you have to be, make sure you have contain. You can't be as reckless as you are inside. So that's kind of the difference, I feel like. And again, Adibare, a guy, if he's there in the 3rd round, it'll be interesting to see what Andrew Berry and the Browns are thinking about, or if they trade back out of 42 and go down in the 2nd round. You get an idea, the desire to be really good, and you heard some of the smarts can't go crazy when you're lining up at the edge as opposed to inside because of that run contain. All really good stuff. We're just getting started. We will hear more from some of the names connected with the Browns in later rounds. A little later, it will be Lance Reisland with some film breakdown of draft-eligible players the Browns are looking at. Sports4CLE, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
Sports4CLE continues. Combine has wrapped up. The Browns and other NFL teams can officially begin negotiating with free agents on Monday. We're going to take a look at some more draft-eligible players that have been connected to the Browns. No question the Browns are looking for young defensive tackles, need to kind of bulk up and try to help stop that run with Jim Schwartz's wide 9 scheme. Here is a name that's been connected to the Browns' 3rd, 4th round areas. Keanu Benton from Wisconsin, 6'4", 309, so a bigger guy, was a really good high school wrestler and is still quick at 309. Powerful interior defensive lineman, size and persistence, lacks early rep explosiveness to get decisive wins at the point of attack at the pro level, and sometimes does not disengage from blockers quickly enough. But you see that bottom line, impactful force in the middle to make noise as an NFL starter if he can become more consistently powerful and disengage those blockers. Benton talked about kind of how motivated he is to become as good as he can be.
Just my knowledge of pass sets and my toolbox. I feel like over the years I've got more plays or more moves in my toolbox. I was freshman year just a big guy, a power rusher. Now I'm feeling the leverage, kind of pulling guys or cross chopping, just trying different moves on guys, and then knowing the slide protection, just picking up on offensive lineman communication to know what moves I can have before it even happens. Yeah, iron sharp as iron. I feel like my freshman year coming in, I was going against Tyler Biadasz. He was good. And then I'm going against Joe Tippmann. And, he's a monster as well. So it's like I'm glad, I'm blessed to have went against those guys because I wouldn't be the person I am today. You know, if I was going against some guys I could just throw around all day, I'm not getting better. So the guys that can beat me, the guys, like we go back and forth throughout practice, that's what I like to see. Just consistency. I feel like I did do good in the Reese's Bowl, but just consistency with my pass rushes. I feel like my run game is there. I can hold the block, I can hold double teams, I can split double teams and stuff like that, but just getting after the pass rush and making my movements decisive and like taking those milliseconds off so I can get sacks rather than QB pressures.
And that will be music to Jim Schwartz ear, always looking for sacks in addition to pressures. The Reese's Bowl is actually the Senior Bowl as well, and Benton was very good at it. Another guy that's kind of an interesting edge rusher. A lot of tools, but the production hasn't been there. Ohio State fans and Ohioans in general will know this name. Zach Harrison. You see 270, 4.65 and a half. He still has that frame to even put more weight on. Big, long ability to neutralize base blocks as a 4-3 base end. Gradual movement, lack of playmaking, urgency limited his overall production. Has physical tools to create advantages early in rush. Needs to get better on capitalizing on them. And again, that's kind of a guy that you think Jim Schwartz might be able to unlock and kind of make that light bulb go on that turns all the physical tools into some production on the field. Harrison has heard, you know, a lot of NFL teams think he has some huge upside.
Once you get there, none of that really matters. It's just all about playing football again. You're back to square one. You got to prove yourself and earn yourself every day. So.
After 4 years of film that you put down at Ohio State, how many snaps you played every year, how well do you think teams should know you? You know what I mean? It's like you've been doing it a lot for a long time.
Yeah, I feel like teams have got a pretty good grasp of the kind of player I am. And like some of you guys have said, they also know like there's a lot left in the tank. There's a lot more that I could reach, and a lot of teams have told me they're excited about the potential and the possibility of what they could get on their team in the future.
And again, Harrison, a guy in that third, fourth round range. If he's there, it'll be interesting to see if Andrew Berry and the Browns decide to select him. All right, another guy, a linebacker. This guy's a little undersized, has been connected to the Browns, a couple of mock drafts late in the draft. Ivan Pace. You see undersized at 5'10 and a half, still 230. So was an All-American at Cincinnati and had a 7-sack game earlier in his college career with the Miami Redhawks, and ironically he did it in just 20 snaps. Rare blend, leverage, toughness, tackle obsession makes Pace's tape fun film study. Might be one of the strongest players pound for pound in this draft. Ability to slip blockers out of the way with his lower body and elite contact balance. Now, the problem is lack of size, and he's not really foot speed quick. Could create some inconsistencies at the NFL level. Pace feels if he was a couple of inches bigger, he'd probably be a top 5 draft pick.
I ain't never read nothing that I had trouble with guards. I just run through their face like I did at the Senior Bowl. They started to double team me late in the season, but I still made it through and had to do what I had to do. Yeah, they definitely assume, especially going into the league, they all say that they all like to come and hug you. So, like, I definitely going to have to work my way around them, too. I say David Long. He's from Cincinnati, so I know him. I played with his brother, Dalen Long. So just him being a smaller guy in the league and him being explosive and like a missile shooting downfield, that's the same way I play too.
He mentions David Long. That's another guy that Jim Schwartz coached, and Jim Schwartz mentioned as somebody that was undersized that could have an impact in his defensive system. David Long plays for the Titans. Jim Schwartz was a defensive coordinator there and a senior assistant on the defensive side of the ball last couple of years. Another guy from Cincinnati, a local guy from Norton High School who's been connected to the Browns, Tyler Scott. 5'10", 177 pounds. Bearcats and Norton High School. You see the NFL comp, you got to like that. T.Y. Hilton, again, has a lot of speed, similar body type, versatility, only 2 seasons of starting experience at the collegiate level. And really, Scott did not perform as well as both he and the NFL teams would have liked at the Combine. So his pro days will be even more important. But he is a guy who, ascending talent, and you can see his games. You watch him play in a game, he has what they call football speed. The other thing is, Tyler Scott, a huge Browns fan.
You know, I had a meeting with them that, went great. You know, I guess they were pretty impressed. So, I'm obviously from Northeast Ohio. I grew up a Browns fan. Every day on my way home from church, we got the Browns game on. I listen to the Browns game. Die-hard Browns fan. I'll say that as well. So, it'd be great to play for the Browns.
Again, Tyler Scott, a guy that will be interesting to see what the Browns do at that wide receiver position. Well, with the release earlier last week of John Johnson III, they're designating for release. It'll be announced in the next couple of days. They'll save $9.75 million off the salary cap. That makes a safety a thing that the Browns are interested in. We do know that they met at the Combine with Jamie Robinson. You see the senior, 5'11", 191, Florida State. Again, he is a guy that is very physical, short arm defensive back, good toughness, compact frame, versatility. Could be that nickel back. Remember, Greg Newsome doesn't really want to play nickel, but he can play safety as well. Plays downhill. Jim Schwartz will like that. The comp, Demarius Randall, played here for the Browns, was a pretty good free safety, Demarius Randall, in his time with Cleveland. Robinson talked about his game and what a team that's drafting him is going to get.
What separates you? What's the one trait that you have that'll, put you in line with those great FSU DBs?
Well, honestly, versatility. You know what I'm saying? Being able to play the nickel, the dime, both safety positions. That's what I can honestly say. And I know all those guys, physical. They're smart students of the game, and they play fast. And I feel like that's the same thing with me.
You play with a level of violence. Where does that come from?
I mean, that just comes from how I was raised. I got 5 brothers, single parent mom. So when I play football, it's just, to create joyfulness for my mom, you know what I'm saying? Had a rough upbringing a little bit, but, I feel like that's just like my safe haven, honestly.
You talk about that positional versatility, playing all over. Do you have a favorite spot to play?
No, sir, I don't. I just love to play football. If whatever position coach need me at, I had to go through that in college and high school, you know what I'm saying? So wherever they need me at, I'm going to be there. I like playing nickel, the nickel position, being able to cover in the slot with the quick, twitchy guys, you know what I'm saying? Being able to blitz off the edge, you know what I'm saying? And when I'm at safety, being at 12 yards deep, coming down, making a tackle at 3 yards, and just being able to be in the deep part of the field, that's a great thing for me.
Jamie Robinson from Florida State. Again, we know the Browns had an official visit with him at the Combine. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, Lance Reisland joins us. A film breakdown. We'll get Lance's take and what he sees on film from some of the defensive tackles that the Browns might have available when they draft. Sports4CLE, we'll be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Sports4CLE continues. We continue to take a look at some of the college players that might be available when the Browns select second, third, fourth rounds. Let's begin with defensive tackles. We begin with a film breakdown. Lance Reisland, the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. We begin looking at the defensive tackles. Lance, again, the premise that we have is these are guys that could be there at 43 when the Browns pick in the second round.
Well, yeah, you got to assume that Carter from Georgia and Breesy from Clemson are going to be gone. And also, kind of the first two that we're going to talk about are more the defensive tackle only types. With Schwartz's new scheme, they might go a little bit more with the universal guys who can play inside and out, some guys with a little longer, a little more height. All these guys have tremendous ability to recreate the line of scrimmage. They're long. Some are super athletic. So, yeah, I think these guys will all be available from round 2 on. And that's kind of, obviously, I think Jalen Carter and Breesy are the top 2 physically. But I think there's some room for some guys in the second through, later rounds that are going to be very productive as well.
All right, and let's take a look. The first one we're going to look at is Siaki Ika from Baylor, number 62 here.
Yeah, he's first and foremost, he's a massive human. He's 6'4", he's 358, and I just think regardless of the scheme, the Browns have to get bigger inside. They have to get bigger and they have to get more stout. Again, defensive tackle stats are a little bit overrated. He had 20 tackles. He had 15 quarterback hurries. He can play a little bit. I think he can be a 3-down defensive tackle. I don't think he's a guy who's going to move outside very much, but he can be a 3-down defensive tackle. He moves very well for a big guy. He can recreate the line of scrimmage. He plays with great extension. You're going to see him here extend this guy, get down line of scrimmage laterally, and make a play on the running back. He does this pretty often. He's a really talented, athletic guy for such a big kid, and he is a massive human.
Yeah, it's impressive. You see him kind of engaged and able to move and become a factor. And the next guy, another one that we've talked about, he's from Michigan. It's Mazai Smith, another guy that's strictly a defensive tackle.
This guy, for me, over the last couple weeks, has grown into my top guy in terms of guys I really like with high ceiling. So you're going to hear the word freak thrown a lot around, during combine time. This guy is a true athletic freak. He's got a 33-inch vertical leap. He's bench rep 325 for 22 reps. Most guys do that with 225. He has a 4.41 shuttle run, which is incredibly talented. These type of stats will be very, near the top, if not the top, at his position group. He's a guy who can play inside. He's a defensive tackle. I think with his ceiling, he might be able to go outside, depending on what Schwartz wants to do. He's very talented. Again, a guy with probably the highest ceiling of the guys I'm going to talk about. So his production wasn't overwhelming at Michigan, but his athletic prowess and his ability to move and recreate and extend and play with leverage, and he's very scheme adjustable. He can two-gap. He can play in a gap. He's very, very talented.
And again, number 58 there in those clips from the University of Michigan. All right, the next guy that we're going to look at, Keanu Benton, also from the Big Ten, Wisconsin, number 95 coming up.
You're going to see him. You're going to see the center here. So he's going to extend the center with his right arm. He plays with tremendous leverage. Now, of all these guys, I think this guy does what the Browns really struggled with most. I think he's the best at anchoring in his gap. He's another big guy. So all these guys we're going to talk about are in the 6'3" to 6'6" range, all over 310 pounds. He's another guy. He's 6'4", 315, plays with great leverage, gets underneath this guy's pad. He's just one arm in this guy, getting his eyes in the backfield, knocks this guy back. Again, I think his best attribute is his ability to anchor in his gap and not get moved, something the Browns really need.
And again, Lance, when we're talking about guys in the second, third, fourth, fifth rounds, the Browns are looking for specific traits, and I would assume one of them is exactly that, to kind of not get moved off the line of scrimmage. If they didn't have, those 1, 2, 3 traits, they'd be a little bit higher in the draft.
Correct. Yeah. They lack something. So whether it's lateral movement, the ability to play on all 3 downs, the ability to pass rush. Obviously, it's a pass league, so everybody's looking for pass rushers. And those combination guys are really, really hard to find. So when you get down in the second, third, fourth, fifth round, you're looking for guys who can either play on first and second down and stop the run, or some guys who can get in there on third down in some nickel situations and rush the passer. These guys have the ability to do both. Plus, these guys have incredible upside, and meaning they might not be a finished product, and NFL teams think they can finish that product and make them first-round guys.
And again, the key is going to be for Jim Schwartz and Andrew Berry to get together and identify those traits that they think they need, and then go find a guy that matches. Let's look at this guy. This guy's from another program, that the Browns look at is Florida. Gervin Dexter, and he is number 9 here.
Well, here's a guy that kind of fits the Jim Schwartz mold. Here's a guy who can play inside and outside. Big guy, 6'6", 312. He's probably going to fill out a little bit more. He's on the inside here. He can absolutely play on the outside as well. This guy's another athletic kind of, got great freaky talent. He extends very well. I think he can be a 3-down defensive tackle. I think he's a guy that can stay in there on 3rd down and rush the passer. He'll have to use that leverage. At times he plays a little bit high. This guy would be a guy that you're talking about upside. Maybe not always production, though he did have, 33 total tackles and 19 QB hurries this year. So he was pretty productive, but he's a guy who plays with athleticism, not always with fundamentals and being stout in the hole. So he'll learn that, but the things you can teach this guy. The things you can't teach 6'6", 312 with great extension, and this guy has it. And I really like this guy. I think he's got an incredible upside. Long, plays with good leverage, and when he gets coached up, he could be a pretty special talent.
And again, another SEC product, that being Gervin Dexter. So same thing, this guy from LSU. We know Andrew Berry and the Browns have tapped into that LSU defense several times. Jaquan Roy, number 99.
Well, yeah, Jaquelin's another very athletic guy. Long, 6'4", 315. Had 38 tackles as a senior, 19 QB hurries. I got another guy, plays with great leverage, great extension. He gets rid of people. He has a really thick lower body, so that's going to allow him to stay in there, anchor in, against those big double teams in the NFL. And him, like the rest of those guys, whether they're inside guys or guys who can play inside or outside, the Browns need to get bigger. They need to get bigger inside so they can hold up and protect those smaller linebackers. And here's another guy who, again, in the Schwartz team can play inside or outside. Great leverage, great hands. His hands are very violent. Gets rid of offensive linemen very well. A great upside. Long, big kid. Great upside for this guy.
And we've talked about it a couple of times. They need to get bigger at the defensive tackle position, especially if Jim Schwartz uses that wide 9 that he's known for.
Yeah, again, if you're going to be in a wide 9, it does 2 things. We talked about it before. It's going to accentuate what the Browns do well. They rush the passer and they cover well. They're going to be in man coverage, and Myles Garrett's going to be in that wide 9. But it also accentuates what they don't do well, which is to stop the run, because it exposes those defensive tackles to double teams because the defensive end isn't there to get his hands on the tackle. So they're going to have to get bigger. They're going to have to get more stout against the run. And they just need some bigger bodies in there. They have some guys on the rosters now that can rush the passer. They need to stop the run, and they do that by getting bigger.
And again, these are the things that it's not like Jim Schwartz is going to come out and say he needs this. These are going to be the things that he's telling Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski in meetings. Hey, in order to run this the way we want to run it, we need this.
Well, I've heard a lot about scheme, and I've talked a lot about Schwartz's scheme over the last 3 weeks in terms of the wide 9 and the cover 1 and pattern cover 3 and all the things he's going to do. But there's some things that are scheme. Doesn't matter the scheme. You have to be big inside if you're going to stop the run. You got to get your hands on offensive linemen. You got to be violent with your hands. Linebackers got to get off people. You got to be able to cover people in man coverage. So regardless of the scheme, and his scheme is very good, you have to have certain guys that fit the bill in terms of size and ability. And they're going to have to improve in terms of being able to – the number one thing is they have to be able to stand up against the double teams. That's what they couldn't do this year. They couldn't hold up against the double teams. And they're never going to get to 3rd down and long or 3rd down in pass situations unless they can stop teams on 1st and 2nd down. So regardless of scheme, they got to stop the run before they do anything else.
We are just getting our film breakdown segment started. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we look at edge rushers available in this draft. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Try C, where futures begin.
We continue to take a look at some of the draft-eligible prospects that might be available for the Browns. Now, Browns have been looking for an edge rusher they can line up opposite Myles Garrett. A little bit different skill set now with Jim Schwartz, wide 9. Lance Reisland and I take a look at some film breakdown of some of the draft-eligible edge rushers the Browns might be looking at this year. So, Lance, these are guys that, as of now, before Combine, as you work through it, could potentially be available there for the Browns.
Yeah, and they're guys that I thought kind of fit Jim Schwartz's scheme in terms of, the big, heavy guys inside with Wood's scheme or a lot of 4-3 schemes might not be exactly the fit. He's looking for guys who are hybrids, some guys who play inside, outside, guys who are long. He has a pretty particular style of, D tackle and, of course, D end.
All right, so the first guy is a guy that we've talked quite about this week. Had a really good Senior Bowl from Northwestern. Adebawore, take us through what you see here on film.
Well, Adebawore had a really, really productive Senior Bowl. He's extremely versatile. He's a hybrid guy, can play 3, the 2-eye, the 5, the 9. He has a great first step. He plays with great physicality, but he's not reckless. And what I mean by that is he understands the scheme that is being put in front of him. He's a weight room guy. He's 225 for 30 reps, 1 rep max of 410. He can his broad jump is 10.5. He's got a vertical 37.5. So he's a really, really good athlete. But he's very productive. And I think the Browns, with all the guys I like, are guys that have high ceilings, but guys who have produced in college. And right here, classic case of he sets the edge here. He's going to keep his outside arm free here down at the bottom. Northwestern's very well coached with Patrick Fitzgerald. So he does a great job keeping his arm, right arm free and turning it back inside to his teammates. And he's very stout. He uses great leverage. He's really, really good on film.
And again, a guy that you think fits the mold. This next clip that we see, take a look, and what do you see here?
Well, he's going to use, so by using his speed, he does a really good job, and he's a matchup problem because he can play both the 3 and the 5. So they can do a really good job of lining him up next to Myles and getting him one-on-ones. And he can win one-on-ones. He's 285. He plays with great leverage. He's very strong. He's got enough twitch, enough suddenness where he can pass rush too in that wide 3. So he's a great mix here. This is just a great job of this tackle probably setting. Probably has been beaten a number of times in a speed rush. And now, setting for the speed rush, Adebawore just gets right into his chest and bull rushes him back into the quarterback.
So multiple moves that you're seeing from Adebawore, again, a good thing. All right, the next guy that we're going to take a look at, a tall guy, 6'7", 252, Andre Carter from Army.
Well, yeah, so here's an interesting guy. Here's a guy that had a really good Senior Bowl. I think he might slide a little bit because of the fact he's very light. He's 250. But he's got things you can't teach. He's got really, really long arms. He's got violent hands, and he plays long. So some guys have long arms, but they don't use them to their advantage. He plays very long. His upside is incredible. Again, very productive. He had 19 and a half sacks in his career. He had 15 and a half of those in 2021. And, playing at Army, very good football, but usually not a ton of pro athletes. So teams really focused on him this fall. Great leverage. Right here, he's going to win with the swim move. He plays in coverage. He's very hard to block for a tackle. Again, he can play in 2-point stance, a 3-point stance. Again, that versatility. And the thing that I was looking for is not only guys with high ceilings, like I said, but guys who have produced. So many times you get guys who have these great measurables, but they got to do it on the football field. These guys all have done a lot on the football field and made a ton of plays.
And again, Carter's 6'7", so this next clip that we're going to look at, that 6'7", he knows how to use it, and you kind of alluded to that too.
So yeah, this is just quick. He's going to work a quick pass rush move. He's going to work his left hand. He's going to shoot his left hand and then get inside with a quick rip. He bends very well for a guy who's 6'7". He's got a really, really big upside. He's only 250. He gets to 260, 270 with NFL weight room stuff. I think he could be a real problem off this edge.
All right, we move on. Our third edge rusher that will be coming up in this draft that the Browns might be able to get second round or later. Again, this is a guy, Uzomah, 6'4", 255 from Kansas State.
So this is kind of gets into these guys are really, really good athletes. So all these next couple guys are really good athletes with really good ceilings. This is really a high-level Von Miller type move here. It's called the ghost rush. So he's going to actually fake to shoot his hands, and he's just going to dip and rip with speed. And he actually doesn't touch this offensive tackle. This is something that's been pretty common in the NFL. Obviously, everything in NFL trickles down to the college level. But this is a really high-level move. He's got great bend. He's around the corner, Myles Garrett type style in terms of being able to get low around that corner. Plays with great hands, great violence, sets the edge, can play the run. Again, big enough where he can play inside if necessary, can move around, which Schwartz likes to do. So just a guy who has a really good upside. Again, anywhere from second to fifth round, you never know how these guys slide. This is a guy with really good upside.
And again, the Felix and Udike Uzomah from Kansas State. You mentioned a little bit the closing speed. This second clip on him that we're going to see shows you some of that closing speed.
Well, this is really good. So now he wins. So he's been winning with speed. Now he's going to push and pull. So he's actually going to get into this tackle, and as the tackle starts to push back into him, it's called a push and pull. So he's actually going to push in this tackle. When that tackle pushes back, he pulls him right back. And he's got a big arsenal of weapons. Again, all these guys are very well coached and have a good pass rush plan. Then he shows great closing speed and closes to make the sack. So again, really, really good athlete, high upside, plays violently, plays fast, high motor. A guy I really like on film.
The next guy that we're going to look at is out of Iowa State. Easier name to say. Will McDonald, wearing number 9 in this video.
So, well, he's a guy who played a long time. He had 34 career sacks at Iowa State, but he's a guy who progressed and got better. And, I'm a big Matt Campbell fan, and they do a really good job of developing their guys. So this guy has really gotten better over the years. Like I said, highly, highly productive with 34 sacks in his career. He's going to be 24 years old if he was drafted. Matt kind of goes away from the very plan in terms of he likes those young guys. But, again, a guy who's got a lot of production with a high ceiling, not just a high ceiling. A combine guy, he's gonna vertical over 40 inches. He's gonna broad jump over 11 feet. The stuff I've watched, I have not seen a guy with better bend. I have not seen a guy who can get around the edge and just flat out speed rush as good as this guy. He's a pure pass rusher, I think, in the draft this year.
Well, in this next clip that we're going to look at him, that agility is pretty impressive. They try to chop block him. What do you see here?
Well, this is balance. This is for a big guy. This is incredible balance. So this back's they're gonna slide the protection left, and this back's gonna cut him. He actually gets cut. The back does a really nice job. Attacks the thigh, rolls through it, does a really, really nice job. He's just a really good athlete and wins because of his athleticism. So he keeps his balance, and then again closes on the quarterback and gets a sack. You see this a lot with him. He not only has a ton of sacks, but a ton of QB pressures. Gets the quarterback off a spot a ton. Again, I'm a big Campbell fan. This guy will come in well coached, high motor. And again, that age thing is kind of a difference for the Browns, but I think this guy is a possible mid-round pick who can be very productive.
All right, and we're going to take a look at one more. Nick Hampton, again, we're number 9 for Appalachian State.
So this guy is a stat producer. So again, as I'm watching people, you get guys who are first, second, third, fourth rounders. I was kind of looking for a sleeper. There's some other guys who, Zach Harrison, there's some other guys I like too, but this guy, his production is incredible. He played 46 games. He had 175 tackles, 26 and a half QB sacks, 40 tackles for a loss. He had 134 quarterback pressures in his career. He played some Mike Backer where he actually dropped in coverage. So again, that flexibility that Schwartz likes. Another combine guy, going to have a 39-inch vertical leap. He's got a 10-6 broad jump. He had a 1.20 10-yard split, which is phenomenal for a big guy. And he clocked over 21 miles per hour in their GPS system. So he's a guy who's got high ceiling but high production. And the film I watched was against Texas A&M, so he has big games against big schools. This guy is just a football player, and I like football players. And sometimes at the NFL level, you get caught up with guys who can run and catch and do things. This guy, when he's on the field, makes a ton of plays. I will tell you, there's guys who have some measurables that are better than him. Not a better film to watch. He's my favorite film to watch as a D lineman this year so far, as a D tackle and a D end. he just makes plays all over the place.
All right, one more clip from him, and this kind of goes into what you were talking about. The skills translate into football here.
Yeah, so he's gonna speed rush here, and once again, these guys are all really well coached at the college level now. So he's gonna take this speed rush. The tackle does a nice job. He turns it into a bull rush. Then he does a great job of getting rid of, which is something that a lot of defensive linemen struggle with in terms of getting caught up with those tackles. So he does a great job of speed rushing, getting rid of that tackle, and then again closing and making a play on the quarterback. And you see a lot of these plays to have 134 QB pressures. He's always in the backfield. This is what you see on film against everybody on all films. Everything I've watched on him, this is exactly what you get almost on every play. He's also a guy who can drop into coverage. Like I said, he's played all over the field. He plays at Appalachian State, so they don't have a lot of other pro guys. So teams know they have to block him, and they still can't do it. Like I said, as impressive a film as I've seen this year.
So, Lance, when you look at these guys, obviously nobody's going to be Myles Garrett coming in. He was the first pick in the draft for a reason. These are guys that can contribute in a rotational way for Jim Schwartz, though.
Yeah, same with those D tackles. So you're going to have guys, I really think at the NFL level, you have to have like a Daron Payne who can come in and make an impact, a guy who's a pro, a grown man who's played for a while. But you have situational guys inside and on the edge. So all of these guys, even like a Carter guy, even though he's undersized in terms of weight, they could come in on third down. They can come in on nickel. They could be a guy, they can get Carter where they move Myles down to the 3 technique and put Carter on the outside, and he'll for sure get a one-on-one. So you can do something with these guys who have a skill set, especially on third down. Jim Schwartz is a little bit different. They're going to be in wide 3s, wide 9s, but he creates matchups. And these guys are matchup problems. And the thing I like about these guys, as I said, not only do they have high ceilings, but they come in, they've already produced at the major college level, which I think is very important.
Without question, defensive line, an area the Browns looking to improve. We're going to flip sides of the ball. Quick timeout ahead. We'll look at some draft-eligible wide receivers. Stay with us on Sports4CLE. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Sports4CLE continues. We flip sides of the ball. Over on the offensive side of things, Browns probably looking to give Deshaun Watson at least one more weapon offensively. That means a wide receiver. Would be nice if they could find a fast, twitchy guy. Let's welcome in Lance Reisland, plain dealer at cleveland.com. We're going to take a film breakdown of some of the guys that might be available when the Browns select second or third round. Lance, these are all guys that figure to be available when the Browns are drafting even as late as the third round.
Yeah, I'm assuming that, they're going to shore up their defense with that second-round pick, but you never know how those things go. There are lots of receivers that fit the kind of the mold they need, an inside slot guy who's twitchy and sudden. A lot of guys from rounds 3 to 7 that they can get there. So it'd be interesting to see who they go for. All
right, let's take a look. First guy we're going to take a look at, a guy that we heard about during the Senior Bowl, Tank Dell, Nathaniel Tank Dell, 5'10", 163 pounds from Houston. And the first clip we're going to see kind of shows you a versatile guy, does some things in the return game that are very good as well.
Well, yeah, he had huge production at Houston his last 2 years, over 2,700 yards receiving, 29 touchdowns. He's a small guy. He's extremely sudden and twitchy, a word that you hear a lot. But guys who are very hard to tackle, very hard to touch. He's not a great route runner. What he is, he's a ball and space guy. So you're talking jet sweeps, quick screens, things like that. This second video is a great. He's very good. He plays on the outside of Houston a little bit too. So this is going to be a great. That second clip shows him attacking the outside and then running a slant. Again, a punt return. He had a number of punt returns for big yards. Again, he makes that first guy miss. This is something he does both in the return game and when he catches the ball. Again, this route, he runs down the red zone. It runs a really good route, pushing the guy's outside shoulder and then putting his foot in the ground and running that slant. Again, very stud, very twitchy, a guy who's incredible in space.
And one of the things that you see there, the thing that we've talked about on that route with the suddenness, that is the type of route that you throw a 3-yard completion and he turns it into a 10, 11-yard gain.
Well, again, a lot of these guys that I think will be available from rounds 3 to 7, these are the guys that get those easy yards. We talked about last week, those easy yards. Those are the yards the Browns need to get. So this guy is the best at that. He'll catch a bubble screen, a quick screen, an RPO slant, and he'll get a bunch of yards. And that's what the Browns need. Browns need to get easy throws, easy catches, some cheap yards. Everything they get is earned. They need some cheap yards to keep that offensive flow going.
The next guy we're going to take a look at, 5'11", 195-pound wide receiver from Cincinnati, Tyler Scott, will be wearing number 21 in the video we take a look at.
So this guy's an inside-outside guy. He can very good in the slot. Again, very good production this last year. Again, can play, as I said, inside and outside. He gives Deshaun Watson a great compliment to Amari Cooper and Peoples-Jones. He can work the slot. So here's a classic example. He's just going to run an RPO glance or slant route off play action here. And the thing I like about this is he's an elite speed guy. He's a 4.29 40 guy. So again, easy yards, get the ball in space. Very productive, comes from a very good program with Fickle, so he knows what he's doing. Just like him in space, I think this guy will be available in later rounds. I really like his speed.
Yeah, and you can see it. 4.29. He has a shot at reaching the elite levels at the combine as far as the speed goes. If he does that, he could move up. But in that 4.2 low is where the high end, the lowest, fastest marks in the combine are. I believe it's 4.23 4.22 is now the lowest in the combine. So he is within striking distance of that.
Well, again, he gives you that. All these guys, they're very good in space, and all the routes they need to run, they're athletic enough to learn a lot. But what they need a guy who right now is just a touch guy. Find a way to get him a touch on a reverse, on a quick screen. Let him do the work. Not have the offensive lineman be perfect every time. Just get the ball out quick and let the guy make some yards for you. It'll just help that offense get flowing a ton.
So this next guy that we're going to take a look at from Michigan State, Jaden Reed, 5'11", 191. He will be wearing number 1. A couple of mock drafts that we have looked at this week have him going to the Browns. What do you see with Jaden Reed?
Well, next couple guys, highly competitive guy. Played inside and outside at Michigan State, can run the entire route tree. Super competitive. He's a 4.4 guy, so he's got really good speed. Obviously, he's not slow. I think he works the middle of the field very well. This is a smash combination that they're just going to take the top guy, which is him, in that slot. And he's now, instead of running a corner route, he's going to put his foot in the ground and run a scheme post. He understands coverage. He understands leverage. So he's got to make sure if he's running this post that he doesn't bring that into the backside safety, which he does a great job of here. Very competitive at the point of catch. Again, he's a guy, for me, he's really good at all 3 phases. He releases very well at the catch point, and he's very good run after catch. Again, he's a guy who's a 4.4 guy, which is not slow, but he's football fast. On the football field, he runs by everybody. Subtle movements, subtle attacking the hip, attacking blind spots. Had a great senior week, like I said, Senior Bowl week, and I think he's a guy that's going to be available. Super competitive guy.
Another guy from the Big Ten is next on our list, Parker Washington, 5'10", 215 pounds, again from the Big Ten at Penn State, going to be wearing number 3 in the video we take a look at. What is it you like about him?
Well, he's a little bit different build. So he's a guy you're going to see a play catch a delay slant here against Ohio State, breaks the tackle. So when he gets in the open field on those RPOs, those quick, he runs like a heavy tailback. He's 215 pounds. He's got a thick lower body. It allows him to break tackles. You're going to see him catch the ball and break a tackle. Then he's got breakaway speed to take it to the house as well. So, again, a guy who's very good at all the short stuff, the guy that can get the ball in space and make yards. He's not an elite speed guy, but he's fast enough, and he runs really heavy. He runs like a tailback with that thick body.
The thing that I saw when you were going through and making your notes, kind of a Jarvis Landry type, which Browns fans will like a lot.
Yeah, he has these last 2 guys have super competitive, almost mean streaks when they play. They almost feel they have a chip on their shoulder when they're playing. And when his guy's playing, he for sure Looks like he's got a chip every yard. He fights for every last yard. He blocks very well in space in the run game. He's a great team player. Never heard anything about him, off the field. He's just a good football player.
All right, the final guy that we're going to look at, draft-eligible wide receivers, a little bit of a sleeper as we were talking about. Andre Yosavas, 6'3", 212 from Princeton, so from the Ivy League.
So this guy's an interesting guy. He's 6'3", he's 212. He might be the fastest guy at the combine, or at least be in that running. He's got a tremendous catch radius. One of the knacks would be that he didn't play high-level competition. Well, the competition he played against was very good. Obviously, it's not Power 5 competition, but he dominated at that level. He's super, like I said, he's super long. He's very good at the catch point. For a guy who's 6'3", 212, he plays a lot like a slot. So he lined up about 85% of the time out at Z at Princeton. So he's mostly outside, but he's a guy who can run slot-type routes with his stubbornness and his quickness. He's very twitchy for a guy that big. Like I said, he's very good at the catch point. He's very good after catch. Again, that speed. All these guys can do some punt returning, some kick returning. Elite speed guys. So these guys are all really, really fast straight ahead. They're all really quick in space. A guy that'll probably be around in later rounds, but a guy who's got tremendous ceiling. He's a guy who was a heptathlete, finished 4th in the country last year in the heptathlon. So he's a guy that's got tremendous talent.
The other thing is every one of these guys seems to do what you and I had talked about, get the easy yards so that you're not constantly fighting. And the other thing is you get behind the chains and then you get the ball to a guy that can eat up some space and you're back on schedule, if you will.
Well, yeah, I guarantee you on Kevin Stefanski's play sheet, he's going to have a thing that says touches. And there's guys that just need touches, whether it be quick screens, RPOs, crossing routes, deep over routes. There's guys who just need touches, and they need some guys, some slot receivers who can do some things for them in space and not make everything so hard and everything so earned. And I think these guys, if Watson gets a guy like a Washington, like a Dell, like a Scott, these guys can all make yards after catch without him having to do a lot.
Make sure you check out Lance Reisland, pages of the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. Always really good insight on his film breakdowns. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.